Matrix. Welcome to your show, Grade 12, Life Sciences with Looney and Aslam.
What's happening, Looney? Dr. Looney.
Yes, and I've got some pieces of these
Hey,
things on
Looney,
my...
Looney. That means you are the Looney doctor.
No.
Yes, I think
What
so.
are you talking about? What are we doing for the Matrix today?
Today we are looking at the human endocrine system.
Cool. Mindset is I hope you guys are excited for your show just as I am, because I just come from, dissecting some animal parts, but now it's time to get serious again. Hope you guys are excited and you are tuned into your tellies because we are doing Grade 12 Life Sciences. How to get a hold of us? Facebook.com is our Facebook page /LearnExtra. @LearnExtra is our Twitter handle, and then you can download all the show notes, the videos, and the schedules on learn.mindset.co.za. And then if you want to win yourself this awesome cash calculator, all you need to do is complete the test yourself questions from the notes, complete the entry form, fill in all your details, and then you stand a chance to win this awesome calculator. And then entries close on Friday at 12 in the afternoon, so you can watch the show, go do dishes, eat, sleep, wake up. Then you can enter the competition, but make sure before Friday at 12 in the afternoon. And then we have some special guests in studio with us. Hello, guys.
Hi.
How you guys doing?
We're fine.
I'm good. So starting from this side, introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, why you're here, and everything.
I'm Nadia. I'm here to learn more about the endocrine system and hopefully help you more with it.
Cool. Yeah?
And I'm Amokhala, and I also want to learn more about the endocrine system. Yeah.
And I'm Roy Sakhone, and I'm here to learn also about the endocrine system.
Cool. So what school are you guys from?
I'm at Timor Secondary
Cool.
School.
So you've got some favoritism going on here.
Mm.
I see. But
How
can we
much
have
you
the
want?
lesson, please?
Hey,
Yeah, we're
you want a
ready.
lesson now?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
You're not going to ask them to do it?
No, they can also, like, if you need assistance, they can just
take
jump
that.
in, yeah.
I can jump in,
Yes.
they can jump in. Okay. Welcome, Mindsetters. I'm hoping you are ready to go. It's getting closer to your examinations. Remember, if you're writing the common exams, your exam is testing up to the year, what we did last week. Whatever we're doing this week and next week is going to be continued later in the year. However, if you're writing a local-based paper, your teacher may want to include these sections in the exam. So pay attention. Let's move with the system. We're looking at the human endocrine system. As we said earlier, what are we doing? We're looking at the differences between endocrine and exocrine glands. Firstly, we also want to know what a hormone is. We also want to state the location, the hormone secreted, and the roles of the hormone produced by the following: hypothalamus and the hormone ADH, pituitary or hypophysis. Notice the word or the name master gland may appear in some textbooks. We do not use that word anymore. We either use pituitary or hypophysis. And don't confuse hypophysis with hypothesis. GH, growth hormone, thyroid stimulating hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, and prolactin only. Notice these are the hormones that are prescribed in caps, and these are the only ones you need to know for the exams. However, pituitary gland releases many more hormones that we're not mentioning here. We need to know about the thyroid glands and thyroxine, the pancreas or the islets of Langerhans in the pancreas, and these two hormones, insulin and glucagon, adrenal glands, adrenalin and aldosterone, the ovary, which we have already covered under the section of reproduction, and we're only looking at estrogen and progesterone, and we're looking at the testes and testosterone. We also want to know what is meant by this word or this term negative feedback mechanism. We want to describe this mechanism using TSH and thyroxine as an example, and insulin and glucagon. We also want to know the result of thyroid disorders and the result of an imbalance of insulin, especially leading to sugar diabetes or diabetes mellitus. Your challenge question, and my guests here, you can take that down as well. Compare the disorders associated with the thyroid gland and the pancreas. So the question is saying, compare what? The disorders associated with the thyroid gland and a pancreas. tabulate your answer. Fairly straightforward, but notice there's an instruction how to do the question or to give your answer. More importantly, you got to read the question carefully so you know what is happening inside there. Good. Now we go to the summary. We start with endocrine and exocrine glands because our statement said we must know the difference between endocrine and exocrine glands. Guys, can you help me out? Difference between endocrine and exocrine glands.
The endocrine gland, it secretes straight in the blood. It has no ducts.
Endocrine gland secretes directly into the blood. So you're saying it is ductless. Good. Exocrine? Roy?
The exocrine secretes straight to the not the intestine,
Where? This one was ductless. So this one?
straight with the duct.
In the duct.
In the
Good.
duct.
So this one here will secrete into the duct. And the duct will take it where it needs to go. For example, you were talking about the intestine. How does that work? The intestine secretes intestinal juice. And this will go into the hepatopancreatic duct, into the duodenum, and it will be secreted there. For example, the liver secretes bile. Bile then goes into the bile duct, common bile duct, and it goes that way. So that's what we are talking about. Now, interesting, people, is the pancreas. The pancreas acts as both endocrine and exocrine. Why do we say that? Because it secretes pancreatic juice into the pancreatic duct there. And this pancreatic duct will take the pancreatic juice to the hepatopancreatic duct, which will end up in the duodenum. Good? At the same time, inside the pancreas are cells known as the islet cells or the islets of Langerhans. And these islets of Langerhans secrete insulin and glucagon directly into the blood. So in this case, the pancreas is also known as an endocrine gland. Thereafter, and this is something you should get used to in your own schools, draw the diagram of the body. It doesn't have to be a perfect diagram of the body. Label the glands in a particular color or colors. Then write down the names of the hormones in another color, and thereafter you can talk about the functions of the hormones in another color. And we start on the top there, the hypothalamus secretes ADH. Remember this, you may get confused. You may say that the pituitary secretes ADH, but it's not the pituitary, it is the hypothalamus. But the hypothalamus secretes this ADH and it is stored in the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland will release the ADH, not secrete, but release the ADH. Remember when you did nutrition, you spoke about bile. Bile was secreted by the liver, but released by the gallbladder. Good? Okay, so that one there secretes ADH, and notice the function, osmoregulation. What is osmoregulation, guys?
Control of
Control?
water in the body.
Water in the body. Control of water in the body. Good. Osmo-water regulation, the control of. In other words, ADH will help us to control the amount of water in our blood. Pituitary gland, and this one I'm going to go through very quickly because summary, secretes GH, growth hormone, which obviously is there for growth and development, mainly of the long bones of the skeleton. TSH, and I read the name earlier, thyroid stimulating hormone, will stimulate the thyroid gland to secrete thyroxine. Follicle stimulating hormone, you should all know this from reproduction, stimulates the development of the follicle. LH, also from reproduction, triggers ovulation, and as a result, leads to the formation of the corpus luteum. Prolactin, the lactin coming from lactose, stimulates milk production in pregnant women and thereafter when they give birth. The parathyroid gland, we are not going to worry for exam purposes, but they secrete hormone which help us in calcium reabsorption. Among ladies, among females, Luni, this is very important because when they fall pregnant, the developing fetus takes a lot of calcium out of them.
Yeah.
Now, what happens among you young ladies is that you do not take in enough calcium. When you get older, you're going to suffer from osteoporosis because of that. Not you're going to, you may suffer from that if your calcium intake, and at your ages, you should be taking as much calcium as possible. We are interested in the thyroid glands. Notice where it's found. It is found over the larynx. Secretes only one hormone, the thyroxine. It controls the metabolic rate. It affects the growth and development with growth hormone. It also affects the functioning of the heart and the nervous system. A little below that is the thymus. Helps to build resistance to disease. Again, these two not for exam purposes. We have the pancreas, which is there for exam purposes, insulin and glucagon. Insulin, does it reduce or increase the blood sugar level? Nadia?
Increase.
Increase, is that correct, Roy?
Yes, sir.
It's correct. Amukhalan?
So it decreases.
It decreases, right? Bong, bong. And Amukhalan gets it right. It decreases the blood sugar level. How does it do that? It converts glucose into glycogen and fat to be stored in the liver, and or it also stimulates the cells to absorb more glucose so you can use the glucose. Okay? And glucagon obviously then raises the blood sugar level by converting glycogen to glucose. Okay? Then we go to the ovaries. We're not going to the ovaries, but we're looking at the ovaries. And the ovaries secrete estrogen and progesterone. Estrogen and progesterone. You know the functions of estrogen and progesterone already. The testes secretes testosterone. You know the functions of testosterone already. On the other side, we have the adrenal gland. Notice it's labeled on the other side. It's not on the other side. It's above each kidney. We find the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands secrete adrenalin and aldosterone. Adrenaline, I'm not going to go through all the functions of adrenaline. We'll ask the learners to help us just now. Adrenaline prepares the body for emergencies. We'll leave it at that. And aldosterone regulates the salt content in the body. You can see that aldosterone and ADH have to work together because when we want to reabsorb water, we need to decrease the water potential. And one way of decreasing water potential is to add salts. So aldosterone and ADH have to work together. Tell me, guys, about this emergency. How does adrenaline prepare us for emergency? Give me one, Roy, first.
It increases your heart rate.
You've got to speak a bit louder for me, Roy.
It increases your heart rate maybe in an emergency.
It increases the heart rate in an emergency. Now let's look at that. Heart rate is beating faster. That means the heart is beating faster. What does this do? It improves circulation, and therefore oxygen is reaching the cells faster, and carbon dioxide is being removed. Good. And another one, Amakhala. You must talk loud, right?
It increases the breathing rate.
It increases the breathing rate. Obvious, if you want to send oxygen to the cell faster, then you have to breathe more oxygen in. Now guys, this section, this one about adrenaline, sympathetic nervous system also has the same function. You don't have to learn it. You have to think it. Because when you're excited, when you're anxious, when you are scared, when that snake is running behind you, or when they announce, Roy, get to Mr. Khan's office in the next 1 minute, then you know what's happening in your body at that time. Okay? So those are the things that's happening. Nadia, give us one.
Increase glucose level in the blood.
Okay, she says it increases glucose level in the blood. Why? We need energy to react. We also talk of the adrenaline hormone as the fight or flight. Fight or flight. Fight, you stand there and you fight. If that snake is coming, you're fighting the snake. Or when you see that snake, you turn around and you run like hell so that the snake mustn't catch you. So because of this, that's important. In addition to this, the blood supply to the heart and to the skeletal muscles is increased. How? These blood vessels dilate. So more blood goes to these parts. Why? Because you need to run like hell, or you need to fight like hell. So you need these things to be working for you. At the same time, blood vessels to the skin and digestive system, they constrict because you don't need blood to go and cause digestion to happen at that time. You're too scared, you're too excited for that to happen. So those are some of the logical things. Last but not least, the dilation of the pupil, which causes more light to enter the eye and we can see clearer that way. And that brings us to the negative feedback mechanism. What is a negative feedback mechanism? It's a mechanism that ensures that in any control system, changes that occur are reversed and returned back to the set level. How? Where a response by the effector is opposite to and reverses the stimulus. So there's a stimulus, more glucose in the body. The control center picks this up and decreases the blood sugar level or glucose level to normal. This is what a negative feedback mechanism has done. So you must understand that a negative feedback mechanism is a mechanism in which the response is usually the opposite to and reverses the original stimulus, whatever that stimulus is. In our situation, we're either going to talk about too much or too little of something. If the stimulus was too much, the negative feedback mechanism will decrease back to normal. If it's too little, the negative feedback mechanism will increase that substance back to normal. It's all about balance. And this balance we'll talk more about next week when we talk about homeostasis. Still carrying on with our summary, the interaction between pituitary gland and thyroxine. Here's an example of a negative feedback mechanism. If this is the normal level there of thyroxine, if for some reason it is elevated, by the way, for you OBE learners, elevated means increasing, okay? If it's increased for some reason, the thyroxine level is increased. It stimulates the control center. Which is the control center? The pituitary gland. What does pituitary gland do? It secretes less TSH. And if it secretes less TSH, then it is going to stimulate the thyroid gland less or more?
Yes.
Less, obvious. Okay? So the thyroid gland is not stimulated so much, so the amount of thyroxine is less or decreases. Decreases to what? To the normal level again. And the opposite is true. If the thyroxine level is low for some reason, then the pituitary gland, remember the control center is the same, whether it's low or high. What does it do? It secretes more TSH. Don't just write it secretes TSH. You must talk about more or less. This section is all about that when we're talking about negative feedback. And therefore the thyroid gland is stimulated more, and therefore it secretes more thyroxine and the level comes back to normal. A very simple flow chart there. I want you to take a moment just to look at that. I'm giving you 2 seconds just to look at that and try and absorb it. Obviously it's on your study notes as well, so you will see it again. With that, I give you a moment with Looney.
A moment.
With Dr. Looney.
A moment. Wow. Mine says we are going to take a very quick shout out to Asanda Ngwawo, asking me to send a shout out to her because she's with her brother and her brother doesn't watch Mindset, so she wants me to say her name so that her brother can watch and tell all his friends about our cool channel and all of that. So shout out to you, Asanda. Thank you so much for watching. And with that said, Mindsetters, let's take a very quick break and I'll see you straight after this. Welcome back, guys, from that break. Just a reminder, if we don't get through all your questions right at the end when Aslam will take your questions, remember we have help desk in order for you to guys to send all your questions there. We've got a Mixit app, we've got a Facebook app, and we've got a help desk. It's learn.mindset.co.za/help desk. And remember, guys, the Learn Extra Life Sciences Help Desk is proudly brought to you by Excel. So I hope you guys are making use of it, asking all your questions, sending them through, and you will be answered. So don't panic if Aslam doesn't get through all your questions. We've got all the other sources for you guys to send your questions there. But now...
Thanks, Looney. Welcome back, Mindsetters. I'm hoping you had juiced yourself up with something or the other, all legal stuff, obviously, I'm talking about. And
On a
what's
Wednesday.
happening? Dr. Looney is giving me those heavy looks today.
On
guys.
a
I'm
Wednesday.
worried. I'm worried about
It's
Dr.
fine.
Looney.
It's
She
fine.
got promoted to doctor today with a dissection. Now we're all under pressure here in the studio. Well, we're back. We're still busy with the summary. Remember, we always go through the summary, and we have our questions coming up after this. We're going to go through those questions. And, guys, as Dunia has told you, put your questions on the page. And, guys, don't wait for us to answer the questions. If you can answer somebody's question on the page, even better, even better. This is what we want. We want a learning community. We're talking about the summary still, and now we're talking about the disorders. In the thyroid gland, we talk of goiter if there's a shortage of iodine, because thyroxine needs iodine. The production of thyroxine needs iodine. And if there's shortage of iodine in the diet, it can lead to a goiter, as you can see here, the swelling in this area here, and that can lead to some other complications, which we will talk about. We can also have a situation when the thyroid gland secretes less thyroxine, that is called hypothyroidism, too little. These are some of the symptoms that one may undergo: intolerance to cold, receding hairline. But let's keep it to the function of thyroxine. Thyroxine's function is to control the metabolic rate. If thyroxine is low, then obviously the metabolic rate would be low. That's the first thing. It would also affect the functioning of the heart and the nervous system. It would also affect growth. How? It will affect those things negatively. In other words, they would function slower than what they should function. And all these are just actual symptoms of that there. Thick tongue, slow speech, etc. You're not expected to know all these things here. You must relate the disorder to a disease or to the functions of that particular hormone. Remember that. So if you know the function of the hormone, the disorder will make sure that those things don't take place, or they take place too much, if it is hyperthyroidism as an example. In hyperthyroidism, obviously your metabolic rate would be, by the way, let's just go back to hypo. If your metabolic rate is low, would you gain weight or lose weight? Anybody? If your metabolic rate is low, that means you're burning food slower.
Gain.
You would gain. Good, Nadia. You are going to gain weight in that case. So weight increase, okay, in hypothyroidism. Lots of our people suffer from hypothyroidism, by the way, and there's medication to help in that way. Hyperthyroidism would be now you're stimulating your metabolic rate to be too high. It means you're going to burn food fast. And taking Nadia's answer, that means you're going to lose weight. So if you are losing weight without knowing what's happening, one of the tests the doctor is going to do is to check your thyroid functioning, okay? And also your nervous system and heart rate would be too high, etc., etc., etc. These are some of the other things that are there. You can talk about that. Another symptom of that is the protruding eyes in hyperthyroidism. If the eyes are protruding, remember these are symptoms. It doesn't mean that you have protruding eyes, that you have definitely hyperthyroidism. It is one of the symptoms. It could be a symptom of another disease as well. I've made the guy's eye protrude a little more, I think. In terms of sugar, again, we're not going to go through the summary because you have it already. And the idea of the sugar balance is the same as the idea of the thyroxine balance. If there's too much, then the pancreas will secrete insulin, etc. When there's too little, the pancreas will secrete glucagon, and the story will go around. Remember, it's all a balancing act. Not going to go into the details there. Right? Again here, now we're talking about sugar diabetes. If a person has sugar diabetes, that means insulin is either not being secreted at all, or the cells are not responding to the instruction of insulin. Those are the two types of diabetes we may experience, diabetes mellitus, right? Type 1 or type 2. So the person can be either always tired, always hungry. Females may get continual vaginal infections, sexual problems, numb or tingling hands or feet, those funny feelings in your fingers and hands regularly. Not when you're sitting on them for a long period of time and so on. You're getting it regularly in a normal carrying out of life. Thirsty, especially when you're sleeping. Sudden weight loss. frequent urination, wounds that won't heal easily, and blurry vision. These are some of the symptoms, guys, of sugar diabetes. But the complication of sugar diabetes goes beyond this. If these wounds, for example, don't heal properly and you don't tend to them properly, they can become infected with gangrene, and then eventually you'll have to amputate a limb, etc. And then eventually, if it spreads in the blood, came down for you. Another thing is that obviously with sugar diabetes and the kidney working so much, the kidney gets damaged. And if you don't deal with it, those are things. You can even go blind, by the way. Blurry vision is the beginning. You can even go blind because of it. So it's a serious condition which can be controlled by diet, exercise, and medication. So it's not a fatal disease that you're going to die immediately. You can control it by your own behavior firstly, eating the right food and exercising regularly. And exercise doesn't mean you have to go to the gym and pump iron. It means walking around your house, walking to school and back, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, this one here we need to put up for the guys. You see this guy showing a little bit of obesity. He's thinking that he got an insulin injection. The doctor is saying, no, that wasn't insulin. You don't have diabetes yet. This was a warning shot. So if you carry on eating incorrect food, you can develop diabetes as well. Now we are at the questions. The first question says, and guys, you've got to be on your toes now. Just like this lady on the toes. There, on top there. Study the diagram below and answer the questions that follow. They give you a diagram here. There's a snake there, and this lady is screaming for help and so on. And this one here, he's running, diagram 2, he's just running. And this is diagram 3, just giving you the normal body there. They want to know how will the diameter of the skin capillaries of the person in diagram 1 compare with those of diagram 2. Diagram 1, skin capillary, and diagram 2, skin capillary. This question is not restricted to endocrine system. What has been added to this one? What other section? Homeostasis. Excellent, Amohalang. Well done. So we're talking about homeostasis as well, and which part of homeostasis? Thermoregulation. In an exam, expect this. Don't think that one question will deal with one section only. So they want to know, compare the diameter of this one here who's sweating and this one here who may also be sweating of fear. But so what can we tell us, Roy?
The diameter of the diagram 1 will, I think, will open more to allow more sweat.
In diagram 1?
Yes.
You're saying it's dilated.
Yeah, dilated.
And this one? Constricted.
It will constrict.
Amokhalang, you agree with it?
I guess.
You agree? Nadia?
No,
You don't agree. What would you say?
I would say the diagram 2 would dilate.
Diagram 2 will dilate and this one will constrict. Luni, you want to be the judge?
It's
You can't be the
fine.
judge. I must be
No.
the judge.
Yes.
Okay, let's look at it carefully. This person here is an emergency. Remember? Emergency. And what did we say about an emergency? Do we need blood to go to the skin? No. Yes? So what must happen here? It must constrict. And this one, the person is sweating. How come they're sweating? Because more blood is going to the skin. Why? Because it's hot and they're running. They're running, so they're sweating. So that means this one must be dilated. Nadia, you get full marks for that one. Right? Narrower in diagram 1 and wider in diagram 2, or we use the correct words. Try not to use narrower and wider, use the words constricted and dilated. That's the correct word. And don't ever use big and small. What is big and small? Big can be big like that and small like this, or wider or narrow. So don't use big and small. And don't use thin and thick either. You either use wider or narrower or constricted and dilated. The best, constricted and dilated. Choose the letter of the gland in diagram 3. In diagram 3, that can be associated with the condition of the skin capillaries in a person on diagram 1. Listen to the question. Which gland in diagram 3 is associated with the condition with the person in diagram 1. What was the condition here? Emergency? So which gland is involved in emergencies?
Adrenal.
Adrenal gland, good. And that is letter
D.
D. Okay, so that's an easy one. Answer is correct. Explain your answer in question 1.2 by referring to the changes that occur in the diameter of the skin capillaries in a person in diagram 1. Now we need to explain what happens to this person. Okay, and that's easy, we've done it already. First of all, we name the gland, adrenal gland. What does it do? It secretes adrenaline. Look at the marks, how they're going to go here, right? One is we're identifying the gland. Secondly, we're telling you what it's secreting. Thirdly, we say it goes to the skin capillaries, causing them to constrict. Why? So that less blood flows to the skin. Why? So that more blood can be directed to the strategic organs. Which are the strategic organs? We can give examples. The skeletal muscles, the brain, the heart. Why? To provide more fuel and oxygen, to provide more energy to deal with the emergency situation. You need to start thinking in this way, where your answers is in the step line. You don't always have to write it like that, but you must think in that way, that this is where my marks are coming from. Are we okay with this one, guys?
Yes.
Make it easy for you. Give the letter of the diagram again, the gland, not the diagram, the gland in diagram 3 that will be affected first if the metabolic rate of the person in diagram 2 needs to be lowered at the end of a race. So at the end of the race, we want the metabolic rate to come down. Which of the glands will be affected first? So the stimulus is that the metabolic rate is high. Which is the control center for that?
Thyroid.
Thyroid gland? Is that the control center?
No.
No. Which is the control center?
Pituitary.
The pituitary gland. And in this diagram, which
A.
one is it? Could be A, no? Am I right? Base of the brain there. Okay? Let's see if I was right. If I'm wrong, 2 cuts for me. Okay, so I was right. But I wrote the question, so I can't be wrong, right, Roy?
Yes, sir.
I can be, you're lying. Explain the role played by the gland named in question 1.4 in lowering the metabolic rate. Now, how does it do that? Simple. It will secrete. What are we talking about, by the way? What mechanism is this? Negative feedback. You must talk louder, guys. Huh? Negative feedback. So what will it do? We already named the gland there, A. What was it called? We didn't name it, sorry. Pituitary gland. What will it do? It will secrete less TSH. Why? This will lead to less stimulation of the thyroid, so less thyroid activity. What will this do? It will secrete less thyroxine, and therefore there will be less thyroxine, so the metabolic rate will decrease. So notice, guys, in this question, they didn't ask you what will happen if there's less thyroxine, which is a straightforward question. They took the function of thyroxine and told you that that function was high. How can that function be high if thyroxine is high? So, same question. Our answer would be the same if I asked it about thyroxine or this. Can you understand what we're saying here, guys? Are we all okay with that one?
Yes.
One question down. Answer the following questions on hormones. 2.1. Name the endocrine gland which secretes each of the following. This is a straightforward level 1 question you need to recall. Name the endocrine gland which secretes each of the following. TSH. Roy.
Pituitary gland.
Pituitary gland. You got it right. Adrenaline. Amkhalang.
Gland.
Sorry?
Adrenal gland.
Adrenal gland. Excellent. Thyroxine, Nadia.
Thyroid gland.
Thyroid gland. Hey, these guys are sharp from Ahmad Timon, eh? They must be got a good teacher there, Luni.
Obviously.
I wonder who's that teacher. We have to find out. We must phone him.
Yeah.
One day we'll call him to the show. Growth hormone. Roy.
Pituitary gland
Hey,
also.
pituitary gland. You see, they know. Aldosterone. Nadia.
Adrenal gland.
See, I even caught her. I went past her. She still gave you the answer. Yes?
So
I
clever.
didn't train them. Eh? Adrenal gland. Good. Excellent. So, guys, this is a straightforward question. They can even give it to you with the diagram. They can say, give the letter and the name of the gland that secretes all of this. Then you have to give the letter and the name of the gland because it's worth 2 marks. Most of you either give the letter or the name. You lose half the marks unnecessarily. You must give both. Huh? Follow instructions. It was found that the thyroxine concentration of a healthy adult That means we're telling you everything else is normal with this person. Was remained low for a period of 3 months. So thyroxine was what? Low, na? What did they say? Low for a period of 3 months. Now, I already led to this question earlier. I didn't even know this question was there. Will the person gain or lose weight if he continued with his normal diet through this period?
Okay.
He will gain weight. Yes, good. He will gain weight. Why? Because thyroxine level is low, the metabolic rate will be low, so therefore he won't be burning the food, he will be saving the food, and this is going to add on to his weight. Explain. Ah, man, I'm so silly. I gave you the answer. I didn't read that. You must stop me when you see I'm talking too much, right? Explain your answer, okay? I gave you the answer already there, right? Good? We don't have to discuss that. Everybody with me? Good. So much nicer when we have pupils here, Luni.
Yes.
Now we come to an essay question. And guys, I'm getting lots of WhatsApp messages on my WhatsApp and on my Facebook page. I'm talking my personal ones now, where children are asking me, so sir, what do you think the essay is going to be for June? I'm not going to tell you. Even if I knew, I wouldn't tell you, because then I'm not teaching you anything. I must teach you how to ride the bicycle. I mustn't tell you the bicycle has a pedal and it has a steering and you're going to be riding this bicycle. That's not going to help you. You must learn how to ride the bicycle. So in the same way, you must learn how to write an essay, and you must learn the work, the content. Learning the skill and the content, you put them together, you are sharp. So all the essays that we do here are practice for you to write essays. So let's look at this essay. The nervous and endocrine systems help to protect the human body. Use suitable examples to describe how this is achieved through a reflex action and by the hormone adrenaline. Now, mindset is, you will remember that previously we have discussed part of this essay already in this forum, but up to here, when we did the reflex action. Now I'm showing you, this is actually a question that appeared November 2012 in the national paper. What have they done? They put the endocrine system and the nervous system together to give the essay. What must we do? Again, guys, remind me, what must we do when we get an essay question? What must we look for?
The verb.
We must first and foremost look for the verb and other keywords. But the verb is important because the verb is telling you what to do. And here they say, all this up to here, they're not telling you to do anything else. From here they're telling you, use a suitable example. To what? To describe how this is achieved. How? By a reflex and adrenaline. So basically they're telling you to describe a reflex action and the functions of adrenaline. That's all. That's all we needed to do in this essay. So let's see how this answer panned out. They're telling you about the reflex action. Giving you an example. Remember, the example of a reflex action is not touching a hot plate or poking yourself. It's when you pull your hand away from that area. Okay? They're giving you the whole story, and we've done this on the nervous system already. Notice the logical flow from the beginning to the end. They don't talk about receptors and then say you pull your hand away and then says it goes to the sensory neuron. There must be a logical flow. Then, action of adrenaline. All they have done here is given you an example. You're getting, there, I like my famous, Roy knows why I put this one here, because they all shake when I say, Roy, get to my office now. They all get very scared. Or any other suitable example. And they're giving you the functions of adrenaline. That's what they do there. And what are you going to get marks for? Relevance, logic, and comprehensive. Relevance, if you didn't talk about anything else. You only spoke about the reflex arc. You didn't talk about the brain and the cerebrum and the cerebellum and anything else. And adrenaline, and you didn't talk about thyroxine and the rest of it. Relevance, you'll get 1 mark. Logic, if it flowed. You did one thing at a time, and you went from step to step, logic. Comprehensiveness means that you said everything that there was about adrenaline, and you said everything there was about the reflex action. And that is how you get your marks in an essay question, guys. Keep the skill going. Underline the keywords and move from there. Looney, Dr. Looney, your turn.
All right, mindset is a quick congratulations goes out to Pindile Pungwayo for winning this awesome calculator from Casio. Then quick shout out to Nomfundo And the grade 12 is from DGSS, Tabiso, her mother and her brother, and then Vukile Ngobo and Amanda Ngobo as well. Thank you so much, Mindsetters, for tuning in. Let's take a very quick break and we'll see you straight after this. Welcome back, Mindsetters, from the break. So sorry, guys. It's Pilani Pungwayo, not Tindile. Pilani Pungwayo. You have won yourself this awesome Casio calculator. And I've seen all your questions, and we've gone through them with Aslam. We'll ask them after the challenge question.
Pilani.
Pilani.
On the calculator.
Yes.
I told you what to do with the calculator last week.
What?
You forgot already.
What did you
We
want
can
to
win
do?
the calculator.
You want us to enter?
Yes. Challenge question, guys, was compare the disorders associated with the thyroid gland and pancreas. The wording was just flowery. What it really meant is talk about the disorders of the thyroid gland and the pancreas. That's the only two disorders that you need to learn for exams. I've seen lots of questions on the page about giantism and acromegaly, etc., etc., etc. Remember, the only two disorders that you have to learn are the ones of the thyroid gland and the pancreas. Okay? So look at how we have put them in a table. First of all, we name them. That was easy because, oh no, it wasn't easy. I shouldn't have said that first. Okay, goiter is one. What causes goiter? Lack of iodine in the diet. What are the symptoms? You get a simple goiter, a swelling in the neck region. How do you manage that? Treat it. You must increase iodine intake or medication. Or if the swelling is too large, sometimes surgical removal of the growth will have to also follow there. But that's the story there. You'll notice in South Africa, our table salt, Looney, says iodized salt. So what does that mean? That our salt has iodine. So most people will not have that. But if you eat seafood, there's plenty iodine in seafood. So make sure that regularly you have some fish or other seafood products, and you will see that your iodine intake is okay. So that's a simple one. But we are more interested in these other guys. The first one is hypothyroidism. And hypo means what again?
Less.
Less. Hypo means less. Too little. And the reason we have that is that the thyroid either produces too little thyroxine, or the thyroid may be too small, etc., etc. We just worry about that there's too little thyroxine. And the symptoms there, one is there will be a low metabolic rate. Notice, link it to the functions first. In adults, we have this condition known as myxedema, which makes the person slow and gain some weight. And in children, we have a condition known as cretinism, where there's slow skeletal growth, remember, because growth was one of the functions. Slow mental development. Why? Because the nervous system was being developed with thyroxine. Skin becomes thick and dry. Tongue enlarges and sticks out of the mouth. These are some of the symptoms of hypothyroidism in adults and children. How do we treat it? I always suffer when that happens. Medication. We give them medicine to correct the balance. The chemical balance must be right. Mustn't be too much, mustn't be too little. It must be just right. Okay? Hyperthyroidism, right? High, too much. Hyperama, hypermarket, meaning lots of goods. So you remember, hyperactive. If somebody's hyperactive, that means they're too active, like Aslam, don't it? Hyperactive. I need an injection to slow me down. Eh? From last week, eh?
Yes. 3 hours.
Lucky I'm only doing one show, you're surviving
Ooh,
today.
so happy.
Thyroid produces too much thyroxine, high metabolic rate, irritability, hyperactivity, weight loss. Medication and therapeutic activities will help this person. And then we have to compare that to diabetes mellitus, and this is easy. Shortage of insulin, one, too little insulin, or the target cells are not listening to the instruction. Remember, the hormone is a chemical messenger. It's telling something to do something. So either there's no insulin or shortage of insulin, or the cells that's supposed to do something when insulin is telling, stand up, it's not standing up. That's not what it does. Please don't write it in exam. No marks for that. And Higher than normal glucose levels, obviously. Glucose in the urine, frequent urination. I gave you that whole picture there. You have it on a page. You can write all of those things here. They are all symptoms of sugar diabetes. And the treatment is obviously medication, diet and exercise. For me, these two are most important. They are the most important because that is going to keep your sugar levels down. If you eat properly, and by the way, not only for sugar diabetes, for all our disorders, if we eat properly and we keep our body fit, most of the disorders won't affect us. Okay? With that, we move to your questions now. And we're looking at some on the page now. John made me a bit clever. I'm going to just get a little bit more clever.
Down
But
there,
let's see if
that
you got
side.
something for me. What do you got for me?
Oh, okay. This is from Asanda Ngobo. Please answer what is required in an essay that is worth 3 marks, the synthesis, because I always get 2 out of 3 and you don't know what I'm missing, and I don't know what I'm
What's this?
missing. Please ask what is required in an essay.
It's worth 3 marks, the
yes.
synthesis.
Yes.
Okay, there's nothing required in a synthesis. The synthesis in an essay is what we give you mark. You must write nothing for synthesis. You must answer the question. The synthesis is given for relevance, logic, and comprehensiveness. Relevance, the 1 mark, is you don't write anything else. If we're asking you how to go from here to Joburg, you don't tell us how to go to Joburg and Durban. You only talk about Joburg. Logic, if you're telling me how to go to Joburg, don't tell me you get to Joburg, but then you must leave from Randburg and turn left. You must tell me where I must turn left. You must guide me to Joburg. Comprehensiveness, you can't miss out a few turns because then I'm not going to get to Joburg. So comprehensiveness, if it has 2 questions, if it's telling you do this like reflex arc and adrenal, you must do both sides to answer the question. Good? Any more?
Yes. Does the prolactin hormone have any functions in males? This is from Debo.
Eh? Prolactin?
Hormone
Yeah.
have any functions in males?
In males, no. The prolactin, no. But they would probably, but for the syllabus, we concentrate on prolactin in females for production of milk.
Cool. Siabulela, does the medulla oblongata have an impact on an emergency situation?
Medulla oblongata may help us to balance in the situation, and it will increase. Obviously, what will happen is adrenaline will affect the medulla oblongata. It's a nice question, actually. Guys, you realize it's a nice question?
Yes, sir.
What's the function of medulla oblongata?
It's responsible for involuntary actions.
And 2 other important ones?
Coordination.
No. Nadia, you remember? No? 2 other important things is the heart rate and the breathing rate. Can you see now how it's going to help us? What does adrenaline do? It stimulates the medulla oblongata to increase the rate of the heartbeat so that circulation will improve. And it will also increase the breathing rate. But we are interested in the function of adrenaline. When we say adrenaline increases it, we mean that adrenaline stimulates these things to go faster. Next.
Mary, is it important to know all the different hormones in the human body?
Yes. That's what the section is about, the endocrine. Not all, the ones we have mentioned. I crossed out the parathyroid gland and I crossed out the thymus gland in that diagram. The others all you need to know. Remember that.
Cool. What is the simple definition of the endocrine system?
Simple
Nomfundo.
definition of the endocrine system, there's no definition. You can't define an endocrine system. We can explain that the endocrine system is made up of hormones that are chemical messengers that control various activities in the body.
Cool.
It is the chemical coordination system of the body. Yeah?
Right.
Anything more?
No, it's done.
Nothing more.
It's over.
You sure?
Yes.
Guys, you want to say something to somebody?
Quick.
Quick, you got only
Quick.
1 second because we need 20 seconds.
Yes.
I'd like to send a shout out to all my friends, my family. I love you guys.
Thank you.
I also like to send a shout out to the 12 Bs, my family and friends.
Good.
My family and 12 A's.
Cool. 12 A's, 12 B's, 12 C's, everybody. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. We love you so much, and we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Goodbye.